acting just seems to have to be something in my system. So I decided, okay, I'm going to give myself 12 months. And then in these 12 months, if I don't get a job, or if I don't really get the feeling that this is something that I got to do for the rest of my life, I'll study something different.
There are so many people out there, and I know a lot of us have had, tough things happen to us. What David is saying, he didn't give up. He had a vision. He knew he had this goal, and he just was like, okay, I'm going to give myself a year. And that was a tough year. Not talking
That was
about
a
a
tough
year.
year. I had this cash with me and I left it in a drawer, and somebody found it. And of course, they took it. So I don't have money. I'm sitting outside King's Cross and I'm thinking, what do I do? I didn't know anybody, and I was too ashamed to ask anybody, to move in with them. And I couldn't tell my parents that I was homeless. And that's how this whole crazy, wonderful journey really took off.
You make this decision, you're kind of calling into existence some sort of existential power that is absolutely have to try and test your resolution. So you made this decision, like I give myself 1 year, and then, depending on you, the God or the universe is just, okay, let's see how determined you are to make this happen.
I just tend to want to see things through. Most people think seeing things through is just, at the end of the day, you have a golden pot waiting for you. No, it's the journey, the in-between. Just before you get to what you need to get to, and you quit. If you just go one step further, you're there.
David.
What's up? What's up?
Thank you so much for being here with us, my precious friend. We are so excited to have you. Oh, so excited. I mean, you are award-winning actor, producer, writer, director, gorgeous human being. You're such a humble, talented soul. I appreciate you so, so much. Thank you so much for being here. We want to just start diving into our talk, having fun with you. I know we're so excited to pick your brain to have you here. We're like, and I would just love to start with, like, if you could tell us about your journey into the creative arts. You started as an actor, if I'm right, and are an actor, obviously a successful actor. How is your journey? Tell us.
Well, first off, I want to say thank you so much, ladies, for having me. And ever, of course, I have nothing but admiration for you. So I appreciate you, and Valeria. Sorry, it is an honor and a pleasure to meet you. And thanks for having me on your podcast. Well, I think for me, acting, to be honest with you, I was never that kid that, fussed around in his room, um, thinking of fame or anything. What got to me was I liked stories, and I think so. I think maybe my past life I was some kind of artist, so and it just kind of hopped into this one because I was always hung around older people and storytellers, and my grandfathers, my grandparents, especially my uh, paternal grandfather and my maternal grandfather were really good storytellers, and also my grandmothers, more singers, but more the storytellers were my grandfathers. So I used to hang around with them, and they would tell stories, and I think and that for me was it always was something that was important for me because most of our lineage and our stories were told, passed on down the line, and that was always fascinating for me. And from that, it just kind of transitioned into acting once I figured out exactly how I could present my stories because we had I think most people the world knows African historians as griots, like storytellers. So we got a lot of those, people that walk around telling from one community to the other, telling stories of historical stories and also passing on information in the community. Like, let's say there's a flood or there's an illness somewhere, they'll make a story about it and pass it on from one city or one village to the other. So I always was fascinated. Radio was fascinating for me. Books, reading books, plays, dance performances, musical performances. So acting just seems to have to been something in my system. I wouldn't say I knew that it was acting. For me, it was just storytelling. That was pretty much until later on, because I was born in the 70s in what was then in the middle of the history of my country was then Rhodesia, which had been colonized by the British and the European community, of course, from the late 1800s to 1980. So it's pretty much Zimbabwe is a very young country in respect to the transitions of political ideology from apartheid to a democratic system. So it is pretty much a young country. It's about 44 or 45 years old in that sense.
That is
But
young.
Zimbabwe, as a historical thing, it's a much older nation historically, and in the history of the world, it's a much older system. So acting for me was pretty much, I don't know, it just felt like I was transitioning from one period to another, to this period that we're in.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
This is beautiful also because I think as a young generation, we tend to forget that storytelling had actually a very important role in the community to play, to pass on information, exactly as you said, you know, to pass on wisdom from older generations to the young ones.
Right.
And
Yeah.
to you, it seems like your second nature. This is something that you've been born with. And
Yeah, it was something that was just there. And you're right, it's a community thing. And if the king had a new law or decreed something, then they will put a play, and this play will be taken around the land and to inform the people. Because theater for me is community. Theater is a community that has decided to sit down and tell each other stories. May they be make believe, real stories with a little bit of embellishment, but theater for me is pretty much a community sitting down and communing and communicating with us and exchanging ideas. Some things are unspoken, some things are just felt, something are just associations that trigger something in the either the artist or the audience or member of the audience. So theater and storytelling is very much a community thing for me. I find it as a communal feel to it.
so you then fell in love with the theater. It was something that came to you naturally. You started with the theater?
Yeah, it started with theater. It started with actually it was I was in primary school in a small school called Masugu, which is in Bulawayo. It's a southern city. It's a city in the southern part of Zimbabwe. It's the biggest city in the southern part of Zimbabwe, and it's the second biggest city in Zimbabwe. And we had after 1980, we had the parents, both the parents started working. You know, like nationally. You know, because the men and the women were finally allowed to work. So the women started going back to school. The men were working. So what was happening was that at that time I was about 9 or 10, and what was happening was that confidence man would be con man, right? Would be, would come to your house and pretend to be from the electric board or from the water board or from some kind of ministerial type organization. And they would knock on the door and then claim to be from these so-called ministerial organizations, and then the kids would open the door for them. But of course, the confidence man would steal everything from the house, then leave. So what the Zimbabwean state at the time, was trying to teach the kids to ask for credentials. Credentials are like ID. Like if somebody comes to your door and says, "Hi, I'm from the police," and you say, "Well, can I see your ID?" You understand? That we can identify yourself and assure yourself that this is an official document. So the idea was to teach kids to be aware, and the parents to have an awareness of that there are certain changes in community and there's certain security issues that kids have to take responsibility for because the parents are not at home all the time or as much as they used to be. So they created a play called Credentials. And Credentials was a play that was, and it was a play that was passed from one school to the other, and the students had to put a play, and we had what we used to call a variety show. Every year you would have the kids would get together and do a musical show, do plays. Some would do magic, some would do plays, some would read poetry, some would do physical activities like somersaults and all that stuff. And my thing was music. I had my own little guitar made out of my guitar out of an oil can. There's kind of like rectangular oil cans of 5 liter gallon metal cans, and then you put a sticker the neck, the guitar neck on it with the wooden thing, and you put 3 or 4 strings.
So
So
you're
I had a
also a
nice little.
craftsman.
That is
Oh
so
yeah,
cool.
you had to make do, because I didn't have money to buy a guitar, and then at the time, and it wasn't really that important. I didn't even think about it. We just thought, okay, what do you have and what is practical? And there was a guy who used to run around playing music in every street corner, and he had this amazing guitar that he made himself. So I thought, oh, this is interesting. So we made our own guitars. We had drums, and drums are made out of the back of marmalade cans, and you would take that, put a hole, flatten it, and make a cymbal out of it. The whole thing. So I'm in the band, and this particular teacher, she had already her cast, but the guy who was playing the police officer couldn't do it because he fell ill. And on this particular morning, she was looking for an actor to play the police officer. Now remember, I'm like 9 or 10, and she says to me, "Oh, David, you are going to play the police officer." And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to play the police officer because I'm already playing with my band." So there's a back and forth, and eventually she says, "Okay, look, I'm going to talk to your mother about this because they used to go to church together. And if you don't take this, I'm going to talk to your mom, and I'm going to tell your mom." So I figured, I didn't want to deal with my mother, so I figured, and my mother's wonderful, but I didn't want to have the headache. I said, "Okay, I'll do it. Okay, I'm going to do it," because I just didn't need the stress.
I know your mom. They go together to church. You're like, no, it's okay. I'm going to do it.
And also, do you need someone else to play?
She knew exactly what she was saying.
And at that point, I was thinking, okay, it couldn't be that difficult, but okay, I could do both. Play with my, do a couple of songs with my band, and then I'll do the play. So I took the play. She explained to me which character I had to read for her and which I had to pay in mind when I'm reading and everything. And then she told me that I had to learn my text and so forth. And I took the script home. It was a little book. I think it was this little book. It was a little blue book, and I took it, and I'm okay. I got home, and I'm reading it. Oh, I like this. I'm thinking, oh, this is interesting. And then, of course, I said to my dad, "Oh, I need to have a little help with this." And then I'm reading it, and then I got dyslexia, right? And because of my dyslexia as a kid, I knew I had to remember things. And back then nobody knew what it was, but I knew that I saw things differently from everybody else. So sometimes the words I would see, they'll be reversed and stuff like that. So I knew I had to train myself to repeat over and over again until that word was clear. So I had to write it, figure it out, spell it, and have an association with it. So with that, over the years, I just kind of starting retaining information quicker. You know what I mean? Because I didn't want to lose. Yeah. So so I got the script and I learned it that night. Learned the whole thing,
That night?
And the next day we had rehearsals because she'd said to me we had to learn it. I didn't realize, you could walk around reading it. So I learned the whole thing. And we get to rehearsals. And I learned the whole thing. At that point, I didn't even know, there were directions as well. He turns to the right, he crosses the stage, things like that. So I learned all that shit too, So I get to rehearsals the next day. Everybody's ready, and we're doing rehearsals. I'm noticing nobody has their text. So this is really pissing me off. So I'm starting telling everybody, no, you don't say that. This is what you say. And you don't say that, And of course, my my teacher, she said, "Oh, well, it seems like you've got yourself a new job. You're going to be my assistant. I'm going to be the director's assistant." And I'm like, okay, what is that? Okay, I'll do it, because my mother, she's still in the play. And I thought, okay, I'll do it. And that took off. We did the play, I think 3-4 weeks later, the variety show took place, and it was really a success. And I loved the whole idea of playing the police officer and dressing, and the mentality, the dynamics, the power dynamic, the power shift, the status, change of status. This was really interesting. And also how the audience, and back in Africa, I played, well, when I was growing up, when I was coming up anyway, you could be in a play, and in that play, the audience reacted. They would tell you things. They'll start yelling at the play. So it was interactive in a way. And for some reason, that didn't throw me off, and it didn't throw all of us off. We were really good. Each and every one of us, the whole cast was really good. And after that play, I thought, oh, this is fun. So I and a few friends, we started a group. We started doing little plays, and we started doing plays in marketplaces, in school, and on bus stops, wherever we could do, crossroads, festivals, and little community parties or community gatherings and stuff. So, it's make a little money. So I made a little change with that. And so over the years, it just kind of continued. And then after that, we moved to a different part of the city. And then at that city, different part of that city, there was the Bulawayo National Theater. And I used to walk past that theater every day. And a friend of mine, his name is Halliday Davis. He made a bet with me. There was an audition for a play, and he said, "Well, you call yourself an actor, and I'll bet you $5. Back in the day, $5 was a lot of money, and that was 5 Zimbabwean dollars, big money. That you can go up into the theater and get yourself an audition." And I had no idea what an audition was. Now, remember, I'm about 12, 13, so I'm thinking, okay, cool. So I walk up the stairs, and I walk in, and there's this white girl, red hair, still, I hope she's still alive, really nice. And then I walked in, and I said, "Look, I'm here for an audition." And she's freaking out. She's like, "What, audition?" Hold on a second. She ran into the theater, came back with this guy called Graham, tall guy. It's a tall white man. He walks up to me and he says, "Okay, you're here for an audition. You've auditioned before?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, of course I have." Never have, but okay.
That is a real actor talking.
I'm like, yeah, I have, man. Audition, yeah, shit, I know what I'm doing. No idea what I'm doing. So, so he gives me sides, whole 2 pages of it. And there was 2 characters, a servant and a prince. So I learned the text. I mean, he says, "Okay, you got 15 minutes," and I learned. Because I'm pretty quick with learning text. And then they called me in. About 20 minutes later, they called me in. I auditioned. It was nice. And then, of course, I was reading for the servant. I didn't like that idea. So I said to him, "Look, I want to try for the prince." So I tried for the prince, and I got the job.
Wow.
And then I ran over to Halliday because he was waiting in the park just outside, because the theater's at the edge of a really huge park. And it turns out this park, my maternal grandfather was one of the designers of this park. So it was just really weird. And so I came out and I said, $5. I got the job, and I had the script in my hand, so I had $5. Shit, I was rich for that day. I was man, I went to the movies. I bought hot dogs. Oh man, I loved Fanta at the time, and it was kind of like I had me some Fanta. I got me some bread to take home. Man, I had money, and I still had change. Yep, and that's how this whole crazy, wonderful journey really took off. And after that, I did the play, and I stayed with that theater, and I won I think I was 13. I won the Best Supporting Actor, National Actor for that, and then the following year, I got the Best Actors Award, and I came with a scholarship, and and then I went over to the U.S., did a couple of a year of acting school, and that didn't work out for me because I didn't have the money. That ran out of money, so I moved over. So I was in California, San Jose, and I moved over to New York. I spent some time in New York. I did as many free acting classes as you could, and everywhere I could get an opportunity. But of course, I realized I couldn't work in the States because I had a student visa, and I didn't want to be legal because really my thing was really I wanted to act. So I had to go back home. And then I joined a theater group, a touring theater group, and we toured Africa. And then from that, I toured Europe, and then I toured India, and then I ended up in the UK, in London, and I did some acting school there, as whenever I could afford it. And then I got into more theater, into television and film, and then it just kind of snowballed, and then now I'm in Austria, and here we are.
Here we are. I remember when we were talking some time ago, and I remember you talking about something that impressed me because you have been acting, as you're saying now, since you were a child. You talked
pretty
about
much.
this one pivotal moment where you said, okay, either I go fully in or I just stop this. Do you remember talking about that? I would love.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Could you tell us
That's
about that moment?
shit. Now I'm gonna put this out into the world. Oh man. Anyway.
No pressure.
No, you see, when I was I had a wonderful girlfriend in England, but it just wasn't working, and I knew, and I wasn't living in London. I was living in a small town called Bedford, and I didn't have, and in Bedford, they didn't have a big theater community, or film, or acting, or television, or acting community. They didn't have that. And if they did, it was very insular. It was very much a small group. So I needed to move to London. So I moved to London, but I didn't have enough money. Excuse me. So I started working, and I got some money, and I saved some money. But every time I got a job, they would promise me that, hey, we'll give you the time to go to do your auditions and everything. But of course, it never happened. They always threatened me with firing me and all that stuff. And it became more of a struggle because I realized I was moving farther away from my goal, from my dream. I wouldn't say dream, from my goal, basically. And so I decided, okay, with the money that I'd saved, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop working for a year. I'm going to give myself 12 months. And then in this 12 months, if I don't get a job, or if I don't really get the feeling this is something that I got to do for the rest of my life, I'll study something different, become an undertaker or something. I know, something different. And so I quit all these side jobs I was doing, because I was doing, phone sales, restaurants, Burger King, McDonald's, some fancy restaurants like Surreal, something like that. So I was thinking, so I took that year off, and I took the savings I had. I moved into an apartment with, a bunch of other guys to share. And of course, a couple of days after I moved in, I had this cash with me, and I left it in a drawer. I thought I'd hidden it properly, and somebody found it, and of course, they took it. And I couldn't tell, or I didn't know who it was, whether it was one of the guys I was living with or not. But anyway, it happened. My money was stolen, so I didn't have any more money.
The whole savings?
So all I had left...
The whole savings, everything you had saved was
everything
gone.
I had like £4,500 at the time. This is the 90s, I'm talking 95, 96. So I'm thinking, fuck, okay, so I don't have money. And now all I had left was about 120 pounds I had in my Lloyd's account. And that was it. And a couple of loose change I had in my pocket. So, when you run out of money, you go through all your pockets, you find all this loose change. That's what I did. So of course I got kicked out of that apartment because I couldn't pay rent. And so I'm sitting outside King's Cross and I'm thinking, fuck, what do I do? It's just almost midnight and I didn't know anybody and I was too ashamed to ask anybody, to move in with them. And I couldn't tell my parents that I was homeless. And so I met a guy and he showed me a couple of places behind the King's Cross and a few places around the city where one could stay. So that's how my journey started. But I knew I had to figure out something. So I had you see, on the canals in England, you have this red phone booth. And so I took the number of the phone booth, put it on my CV, and I had photographs. I had a wonderful photographer who lived in Notting Hill Gate, a very well-known photographer. He took some of my photographs and he gave me some of the headshots. And so I had these headshots, and I had printed headshots. I had printed resume, and I would put it in a plastic, kind of like a folder. And I had a backpack, and in my backpack I had a plastic folder with fresh clothes and my backpack and a glass of water, a bottle of water, and stuff like that. So and then I would go to at that time it was Actors Center. Mm-hmm. You go to the Actors Center, you could do free classes, you could, see discussions, and then there were castings which they used to post on the notice board, and then you could, and then you also had some classifieds where there's some auditions. So I did all of that. So I walked the whole city. So I would go to auditions. As I didn't have money to post them, so I would walk from one office to the other. So I would find the address, and I walk up, and I would drop my resume, my CV. I did this, man. I walked the whole city. I walked that city. Shit. So for a year, almost a year, I'm still homeless. I can't tell my parents. I got, and finally, I see this audition for a British Airways infomercial. So I walked down to the audition. It was in Islington. And I get there, and there's a little room and a receptionist, a young lady in the reception, and then a room in the back. And she took my stuff, and the guy was sitting in the corner in the little room on his video game. And I said, I'm here for the audition. I said, oh, you're here for the audition? Yeah. And he said, come on in. He's an Asian gentleman. And I went in with him, and he said, okay. So we did some readings, and in between, I didn't realize he explained that he was the director. I said, oh, that's nice. So I'm doing it with the director. And we just hit it off. So I did the audition, and after the audition, we talked a little bit, and then I left. And so what I used to do is I would go to either McDonald's or Burger King, and I would change into my fresh clothes, go into the audition, and after the audition, I go back, and then I change into my street clothes, so I can, so I keep my laundry bill down, So I walked back at that time I was in King's Cross in the back where, the oil coal storages, and there was a phone booth. When I got there around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening, and one of the guys I was staying with, said, "Oh, David, somebody called for you." I said, "Oh, okay." And they said they will call back around 6:30. I said, "Okay." And of course, sure enough, 6:30, they called back, and it was this job. I got my first big job with British Airways, and with the money that I got from there, I could manage to get an apartment, and that changed the trajectory of my life. And from there, I started getting plays, and then I also got the bill, and I got it was a medical show in the UK that played. I think it was in Birmingham. That's where they shot it. So that just took off. And from there, I started doing independent features and short films and theater plays, the Finborough. And I was also taking some classes, some auditions for the National. So and then from there, it just took off. And that was a clear sign for me that this is something I had to do. And after a while, I went to Australia.
Mm.
And after Australia, I got work here with the Vienna's English Theater in Vienna, and that brought me. And I came here and I started working with them. It was in 2000, and then from there, just my whole life changed, a whole different trajectory. Since that commercial, my life was completely different.
You know what I
Yeah.
admire and I think is amazing is your, and this is something that when we met, I just felt it immediately. This, you have such
Hello?
love and respect, and at the same time, such amazing inner strength that is just, I just, every time we talk or every time I learn something new about you, I am more mesmerized and impressed. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing this with us.
Oh, thank you. You
Because
are such a gift. I appreciate you. Thank you
thank
very
you.
much.
Because there are so many people out there, and I know a lot of us have had, tough things happen to us, and just what David is saying, he didn't give up. He had a vision. He knew he had this goal, and he just was like, okay, I'm gonna give myself a year, and that was a tough year. We're not talking
That
about a
was a tough
year.
year.
This is
And
a
you
tough
know,
year.
sorry to interrupt. You know that saying that, there's this saying, I don't know whether it's that just before you get to the right to what you need to
Oh,
get to
yes.
and you quit, if you just go one step further, you're there because you're already there. Because the idea is being there. If you have it in your head, you're there. Now you got to do the work, and that's it.
I have goosebumps, honestly. Thank you so much for sharing this. This is
Oh,
this
you're
is
very
the
welcome.
movie. This is the movie that should be made.
Yeah,
It
but
was
it,
so
and I'll
inspirational.
tell you, and he taught me so much about people. It was actually, it sounded like it was a terrible, no, it was a hard experience. It was terrible at the beginning, but as the years progressed, as the months progressed, I started really understanding myself and my position in the world and how humanity reacts to me or interacts with each other. It was really one of the most amazing experiences. You have unabridged kindness, right? And then you have unabridged unkindness, right? But it's all connected to some sort of pain.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean?
Yes.
Some sort of pain. So it would be easier for me to say, oh yeah, he just hates me because, but if you really talk to the person and start peeling back the onion, then you start realizing that there is more going on here than just somebody being mean and hurtful, and that there is a certain pain that everybody's carrying, and also there's a certain joy that everybody's carrying. But most of us not choose. It's easier to access the pain than to access the good. You understand?
Yes.
Because most of us are ashamed of just being happy. Why are you so happy all the time? You know how people always say that to you?
Exactly.
Oh, he's always smiling.
Yes.
Why is he always smiling? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? There's that sort of like society in a way could bring you down,
Yeah.
but also society can lift you up, you know? So over that year I met amazing people. There was a Chinese couple that always used to leave food out for me. When the restaurant right around the at King's Cross, I would always get there at a certain time. They'll always leave food out for me, and I knew there was food. There was a Caribbean lady that always made sure that my clothes were washed, you know. Um, and there were kind people that would give you money on the street, if you ask, or some kind people that just invite you over to their house for dinner, or barbecue or something like that. So there was always some kindness. And then you had those, of course, that were just mean and horrible and mad. But you could see that they were carrying something on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
As they say,
So,
hurt people, but it's it's always it's a choice to look on the brighter side, but it's difficult. It takes courage, and you definitely have a lot of it.
Yeah, because one thing I realized is I came all this way, and I'm not gonna quit right now.
Mm.
I came all this way, and I made a decision, and it feels right. It feels light. My decision feels right, feels light. It doesn't feel so heavy. So I knew it was something that I had to see through, and I am a kind of hard headed in a way. I just tend to want to see things through. And most people think seeing things through is just, oh, at the end of the day you have a golden pot waiting for you. No, it's the journey, the
Mm.
in between. The golden
Mm-hmm.
pot is the journey, the experience that you have. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's where the real success is, the journey, right? The end, what you get for it is a cherry on the icing, but the real cake is the journey, the whole
Love
experience,
this.
the trial and error, the learning, the failing. Like somebody smarter than me says, when you fail, make sure you fail spectacularly. You know.
Yeah. And it also seems, when you make this decision, you're kind of calling into existence some sort of existential power that is absolutely have to try and test you, like try and test your resolutions. So you made this decision, like I give myself 1 year, and then, depending on your
Yeah.
views, the God or the universe is just okay. Let's see how determined you are to make this happen. So we're gonna give you a whole lot of crap, and we'll see how you deal with it. And you did spectacular. So
Right. Yes.
yeah,
You have a very good point,
yeah, that's
because you get such crazy ideas in your head, but
Mm.
it's like you're walking down the street, right? You got your backpack, you got nothing, and then some region you make you turn a corner, and something amazing just happens, and you'll be like, and then whoa, because like 10 seconds ago you were like really down,
Mm.
and then just a few moments later something amazing just happens, spectacular. Because and that's when I really realized that there's nothing on this planet that was designed or set to make my life difficult. Nothing. It is how I resonate with that stuff that makes my life difficult. You understand what I mean?
yeah.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
it's how I choose to vibrate or resonate with a certain situation that would make my life, either with the choice that I make, whether it's good or bad. Yeah, but there's no such thing as good or bad. But you know what I mean,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's difficult or not difficult. And that decision was made from a desperate situation and I tried to make, and I turned that desperate situation into uh, um, a journey that I had to walk. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
It's something that somehow, now that I'm out of that picture, it's something that I knew I had to do. Even when I was doing it, I knew I had to do it because I had decided. And I didn't tell anybody. You know, I didn't tell it. My mother would call sometimes, and I'd be on the phone booth, and I would talk to her, or my dad, but I never told him I was. And also some of my friends, I never told them. I was just, because it just was so embarrassing, and yeah, it was embarrassing, and also was very difficult, and I didn't want to be that guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to be that guy that everybody will pity. Oh, let's take pity on him.
Mm.
you know and when somebody takes pity on you, you start believing the pitiful energy, and then you take that into you, and the next thing you know, you're going down a dark road. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to stay, and then I wanted to stay those 12 months and make sure that I get things done, and then I can have a clear decision at the end. Is this what I want to do, or is this what I don't want to do? And it was clear, from my early age, that this is something I always wanted to do. Because at that point I already had experience with film. I had already done Cry Freedom, and I had
Mm-hmm.
already done uh, Power of One, and I had done King Solomon's Mines. I'd done a couple of TV shows, and I was also a moderator on a TV show in Zimbabwe called Teen Scene, which is a musical TV show, which is like a Soul Train or a Top of the Pops, something like that. So I was always brave in a way, stupidly brave, but brave. Let's put it that way.
Well, I'm not sure about stupidly brave.
No,
After
brave.
all, that yeah. Let's move to the topic of your films and the big productions that you worked on. How did it feel, having this experience, having this trust in yourself first and foremost, doing it, and then the universe coming bearing gifts? Did it feel rewarding? Did you have like your head in the cloud? Or I feel like you're very level-headed, so I don't feel that it's created some sort of chaos into your life. But how did it really feel when you felt this is it, this is the moment where it's all starts happening for me, and when it was?
Well, first off, when I came to Europe, I realized that I couldn't work as much as I did because there was a language barrier. There was also a racial barrier. But I, because basically most of the agents didn't want to represent me because they basically told me, "Oh, we don't have stories for people like you in Europe." But I knew we had, because I like reading, and I knew, so I looked at I went back in my toolbox and looked at what do I have that I could offer that most people don't have in Europe. So one, I knew I was good enough to get better. That I knew, right? So I just had to just get better. And also I knew I had some English, and I could use that to work on English productions. So I targeted that. So I created a strategy. I had a plan. So my plan was to build a resume, a strong resume. And as I wasn't getting the big productions, I looked at the universities, and I looked at students that were making movies for their final year or middle of the year or something like that. So I offered my services, and that way I could keep practicing my craft, and also I could build a resume. And I knew that these projects usually go to film festivals, and that also creates a certain buzz, and it creates a market for me. So I did that, and with that I compiled a good surreal. And over the years, a word of mouth, and some people saying I'm pretty good, so they kind of recommended me to other people. And before I knew it, I had an agent. My agent in Berlin. She wrote to me and she said she'd seen a project of mine and she would like to rep me if I didn't have representation. And I said I didn't. So we started working together. So I started targeting English-speaking projects, and in between I was learning my German. And as my German progressed and got better and better, I started getting theater work here in Austria in theaters like Theater der Jugend, Schauspielhaus, Burgtheater, Drachengasse, and many other different theaters. And so the more I worked, the more my resume got bigger, the more my name got more recognized, and the more I got better at my work. So basically I had to have a plan. So my plan was to do student movies. And from there I moved on to independent movies with a certain budget. They had to have a budget from either $500,000 to $1 million. Yeah. Something like that, or a nice independent, and I had to have a certain role. So I moved on from there. I've said, okay, what's my next plan? And I was targeting bigger projects, anything with budget from $1 million to endless, right? And this just kind of progressed. It is, I think, where I am right now, it is just where I'm supposed to be. Does that make sense?
Yes, that is true.
It's just, I believe it's where I'm supposed to be. It is neither good nor bad, and it is just, I'm happily where I'm supposed to be. And it is the best period for me because I've had opportunities to do great projects with Netflix. I've done 3 projects with Netflix, I think. Shadow and Bone, Barbarian, and Kalapani, Kalapani we shot in India, and Barbarians we shot that in Poland, and Shadow and Bone season 1 and 2 were shot in Hungary, in Budapest. So, and it just progressed from there. And then, of course, after that, as I was doing Shadow and Bone, which is a really amazing project, it's a great project. I read the books, I loved the cast, but I had these roles. I kept getting these roles, which had no gravitas, and they didn't have. Nobody had to emotionally invest in these characters, right? So they could kill them off whenever they wanted because there was no emotional investment. So I said to myself, I think it was 2021. Remember?
I remember that.
And I said, I need to stop doing this. Yeah. I need to really stop doing this, and I need to look at the projects that really mean something, where I can really invest in the character, and then the audience can invest in the character. And so remember that year I was turning down auditions because I was getting the same roles. And then I think it was December the 22nd, I got a call from my agent, and she was my agent in Italy, and she said, look, there's a project, it's called Those About to Die, and they got this project, and they got this role, and would you be interested in casting? And she said, well, yeah, and you've turned down auditions this year, and I'm not going to take it anymore, so what are we going to do? And I said, okay, fine. It's the 22nd, it's almost Christmas, I got a fever. And I said, yeah, fuck it, I'm not going to argue with her. So I called a friend of mine, we went down to my wife's studio, and we did the audition, and I sent it. First take. I sent 2 takes, first and second, and I sent them because they felt right and just felt, and I sent them. And then I went to Salzburg for Christmas. My wife comes from Salzburg, so we went to Salzburg and spent Christmas. And 10 days later, we're back in Vienna. I get a call from my agent, and she's like, "Oh, David, you sitting down?" I said, "Why should I be sitting down?" She said that. Okay, why? I said, "Well, they want you for that job." What job? I know it's stupid. I said, which job? Because I'd auditioned, which, and she said, oh, Those About to Die. I said, oh, okay. Right. How many days do I have with my shooting? And how many episodes? That first thing I said, how many episodes am I in, and when do I die?
Well, it's a fair question.
When do I die?
It's called
because I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm used, I'm always been, and I thought, it's a black man, are gonna kill him anyway, so fuck it. So I thought, oh, okay. And she said, no, you are in 10 episodes. I said, what? And you don't die. I said, what? And she said, oh, and the director is Roland Emmerich. I said, what? And Marco Kreutz painter. I said, say what? And it's produced by AGC, and you remember 300, remember, I'm like, say what? So he was just...
It keeps getting better and better.
Sit down now.
Yeah, and at that point, I had to sit down. So I sat down.
Exactly.
And I'm like, she said, yeah, you are a regular character, and they really like your tape, and they want to offer you, and they want to option you. And I said, what? Option me? And said, yeah, And really thinking about it now, I get goosebumps, because I was thinking, this is exactly what I had asked for. Yes. I had asked the universe that I want a regular character in a very big production, and where my character has depth, where I can create a character who has depth, somebody that is interesting, somebody I can wear, and the audience will say, wow, that's an interesting character. Who is he? You can ask questions. And that's, so I get the gig, contracts go back and forth, and then I go in, I go for costume and I meet the production and, you know, and we meet and then we go to dinner. It was really beautiful. Everybody's so kind. And then the first day of the shoot, we were shooting a scene where I am in the Subura. Suburas were like the ghetto, right? Back in the day, they called Suburas the ghetto. I think that's where suburbs comes from. I don't know. And we were shooting the scene where I had to run up the stairs and go to their Spanish brothers and tell them something, and they had to come out with me, and I had to show them something about the horses. So I run up the stairs, and I go up to them, and I do what I got to do. And Roland comes out, you know, and he says, at first he had introduced himself, of course, when we got, which I find incredible. This is a world-class director, walks up to you, gives you his hand, looks you in the eye, introduces himself. It's just beautiful. And, you know, because I was shooting with Marco with Roland. So he comes out and he's like, yo, he's a really, your character's a little spritey, you know, he's an older man, you know, and he runs a little fast for an old man. I said, well, look, we're dealing with horses and I love horses. You know what I'm saying? My character loves horses. You know, he's older, but he's not geriatric, you know, he's not. And then they said, okay, let's try it. Let's just try something. I said, cool. So we did it again. Boom, we took it. And he took that tape. And then it's okay, we're turning around. We turned around. It was really a weird experience. And I was downstairs, and I was back in the corner, in the back, and it was a shadow, you know, where you could. So I walked back into this like a shadow, and I'm standing there. And a wave of emotions has hit me. And then next thing I knew, I had tears rolling down my eyes. And I'm thinking, what the hell is going on with me? And I had this voice in my head saying, this is where you're supposed to be.
Yes.
You know,
Amen.
This is what you're supposed to be doing. And then I hear, what's his name? Erwin, not Erwin, it was the first AD. He's got a Welsh name. I forget his name, but he's a great guy. And he calls, okay, everybody set? We're ready to roll. So I stepped back and like I had a faucet in my head, the tears stopped rolling. I took my toga, wiped my tears, boom, and we were on. And that was one of the best shoots I had. Roland trusted me. He gave me one or two directions. I think one major direction he gave me was one scene we're doing in the stables. It said, because I was talking a little too slow, and he walked up to me and he said, yo, David, this ain't Shakespeare. And I was like, oh, and he said, could you pick up the pace, pace a little bit? And I said, you want me to speak a little quicker, faster? He's like, yeah. I said, okay. Next take, boom, on. And what I love about him, he's such an animated director, He's right in there and he's watching everything. He's like, whoa. He's really great. So after the take, he always sticks his head out around the corner, sticks his thumb up, and he goes, let's go. Next. Like, yeah, that's how, directors that trust you, both of them. Marco was just amazing. Marco is an incredible director. He's such a detailed man. He explains, he takes the actor, sits him down or stands, whatever, explains everything, and explains and he talks and he listens to what your ideas. And once you've listened to that, he goes, all right, let's do it. And he's so smooth because once everybody's relaxed, everybody's explained the ideas and he's listened and he's taken, he goes, okay, let's go. It's a quick take. Boom. You know what I mean? Boom. It's so, they were such a good team because you had the experienced guru, Roland, and with his Padawan, Marco, and they were working so well together because they come from two worlds that somehow gel or connect. And that was, for me, a beautiful experience. Both of them are amazing. So that was a great shoot. We shot that. I love the fact that he trusted me. He's a generous director, Roland and Marco, generous directors. They treated me with respect. Gianni Nunari, the producer, and Lotus Diaz, amazing producer, Mark, the whole team, and my cast members, amazing people like Ewan and Dimitri and Mo, and there's incredible actors that were really, really kind. And then I had, of course, I was working most of the time with the Spanish brothers, um, Pepe um, and my little my little brother Gonzalo. It's amazing. And this were really an Enico. This is really, we created a bond. We created a family, and that was a beautiful experience. Now, how do I feel about big projects? Like I explained to you before, on a big project, coming from independent productions, you tend to want to help everybody, right? You want to move you see somebody struggling with a C-stand, you want to go over there and help them, or you can't do that in a big production,
No.
because you got somebody saying, "Nah, don't be touching nothing now. Don't move over there," and and that for me was also, be also enriching, but at the same time was like, oh, okay, this is how things work, yeah. And as the years progress, I think your head can be too big if you take yourself too seriously without taking other people in consideration. You know what I mean?
With you, what I want to just go shortly back to something is how you manifested this, because everyone is
Yes.
talking about like manifesting and how to do it. But the way David did it, like if you're watching us, I hope you're watching us. If you're not, you have to
Yeah,
watch
you were
this
there,
interview.
so you know.
And you have to, and if you're listening, gorgeous, that's beautiful. You have to just see David when he's talking. It's so beautiful just watching him telling stories. But the thing was, it was a year where you were tough. You were getting a lot of jobs. It's easy to fall into this thing of like, oh, this is nice. I have a job. I'm safe. I can work as an actor all the time. But you knew it was time. Again, this stamina, this inner strength you have, this clear vision you have. It's mesmerizing because you went, and I remember that we had the talks and you were talking to me.
Yeah.
And I was always like, wow, I can only look up to you and go like, there's so much I can learn from you, because you were like,
thank you.
The jobs are coming in, they're rolling in, I'm getting these things, but I have to say no. I have to say no. And you really pulled it through almost a year again.
Yeah, almost a year. Remember, we talked a lot about it. And I remember you listened, and I appreciate you for listening. And it was really, it was people like you that really kind of like helped me pull through, because I knew I had to make, and I felt it. It was so. The worst thing for me is to get on a film set or theater, to go to the theater to rehearse a play that I do not have any investment in, emotional investment in. I just don't, that way, then I'm going to get angry, and then you get upset, and then you get really, really despondent.
Yeah.
And I want to have excitement when I'm doing a play. It doesn't matter whether it's a difficult production. It's excitement doesn't mean to say, "Ooh, happy, laughing all the time." It's just, there is a feeling. There's that energy you feel. You just feel something. Okay, this is right. And that year was really, I had to make that decision, and it was an amazing year, because when I was shooting Those About to Die, I also got an offer from Canal Plus and Door Film and Blue Eyes Fiction to do. They had a 3-movie deal for me for Woodwalkers, and that was really amazing. And then I shot Woodwalkers, and actually Woodwalkers just won the film award at the Munich Festival for best film.
Congrats.
And it's got a nomination for Bravo, and also for, it's doing very well.
I would love to ask you
And
there.
and that's when I was shooting.
No, say. That's when you're shooting.
Yeah, that's when I shot the first one in 23, and then the second one was last year, and we're shooting the third one this year. And it's been an amazing experience, because it's like a children's book, and it's in German, and it's an incredible project. The kids are incredible, and the animals are amazing. So that for me was, and also I got a role that I really can invest in. He's a teacher in this school, and he has a daughter in the school, and he's a teacher with a certain conservative outlook and he's a character that is also very interesting. And this for me, so I just figured, sometimes it's important that you put your wishes out into the universe, and then you work towards them. You know?
That was
You
the
walk the
thing.
path.
You walk the path. You put it out there, and then
Yeah.
you walk towards
You
it. That
walk
meant
towards
you
it.
need
Yeah.
to say no to things, and you did it. And
Hmm.
even if it isn't easy, because for us actors,
No.
we don't know when the next job is coming, and you still had
Hmm.
the strength to say no. What I want to ask is exactly this. So you have in that year then huge productions as international, also in the German market, like Woodwalkers. What is the difference there? Is there a big difference, like on the sets, or how is
What do you
that?
mean?
As in working on bigger United Netflix productions or the German productions?
Well,
The
the beauty
transition
of
there.
what we do is the diversity and the uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. They are different, but they're both good in their differences.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, uh, a yeah, they're different, but they're good different. We had a bigger budget on Those About to Die, massive budget,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had a big budget on Woodwalkers. I think about 16, between 10 and 16 million. So that was a pretty big budget. So you had a great team, great cast. So I would say it's just a smaller scale, but just as good.
Mm.
Yeah. And I've done great. I mean, Germany has been kind to me. I've done great projects in Germany. I've done, I mean, one of the first features I did when was a movie was called Frankfurt Coincidences. And we won the Munich Film Festival with that. And that was my first nomination for Best Actor in Europe.
Mm.
And I got my first nomination with that movie, Frankfurt Coincidence. It was an amazing movie. So Germany has been kind to me. Austria has been also kind to me. I've done some really incredible projects like Braunschlag here in Austria, which is a really successful TV show. And I've done Tatort, uh, Virus, which I had one of the supporting title character. And I've done things like Wie man leben soll, Todespolka, um, No Mother. I've done Cranberry Juice, um, Void. I've done a really amazing, great work in Austria. It's far and few between, but when you get it, it's the right work.
Mm.
You understand what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So the size is basically doesn't really doesn't really matter. It's more how the team is and what the story you're working in, the character you embody, and the team that you're working with. That's where the secret, where the joy is. Yeah. But of course, there is nothing more comforting than having a solid budget in your project. When you got enough money to have the right people, and to have the right equipment, and to create a more comfortable environment for everybody. Yeah, that's nice. But you could shoot a low budget movie that costs 250,000 or 100,000, and it's an amazing story, and you have an incredible cast and crew. It's just as rewarding.
Okay.
Yeah, or it could be a 30,000, 40. It doesn't matter. Just be as rewarding. It's just about how much people that you're working with, how much respect and how much love they have towards the project, and how much they support each other. Mm-hmm.
So the next logical question is, how many hours are in your day? Because of course you're also a writer and producer. So you're also writing your own projects about the stories that matter to you. That we kind of covered during the pre-interview, and we are really, really curious, and we want to now dig into this topic.
You see, like being self-employed, you gotta have a plan. You gotta have a daily plan. It doesn't matter whether it's Sunday, Saturday. You gotta have a plan, and you gotta have this from here from 9 to 11 I got to do this. You got to have a plan, and you got to try to stick to it, religiously. And at some point it just becomes part of second nature. You don't got to worry about it. It just becomes normal. One of the projects which I really would love to see come to fruition really is a project called Wienerland, which we shot here in Austria. Which we shot a pilot of it, and this thing has been so successful in the festivals. It has won way over 100 awards in some of the big festivals, well received. But I've been having problems with this project to getting financing for it. For some reason or other, I just can't seem to find the right people in Austria or in Europe to finance the project, because I want to shoot it in Europe. Wienerland is a fantasy. It's a cross between Western and fantasy. And it is, if you like projects like Witcher or Shadow and Bone, all these games like Warcraft and things like that. If you like those kind of projects and fantasy projects, Wienerland is the right project, because it's created. It is a story that deals with human nature, the politics of humanity, the sciences. May they be mystical sciences or sciences that we don't call mystical, physical sciences, and or it could be, if you like, a steampunk. It has that also. So this is a project which I really, and one of the reasons I like this project, Jan Wolitz and Christopher Dechai and Stefan Polozak. Stefan Polozak and Jan were the directors, and also conceived the project with Christopher Dechai, and I came in on board as an actor and also as producing. And this project, it has, for me, why I like the project, it is so multiracial, multicultural, and it takes the historical elements of this planet and, and embellishes a little bit, put a little poetic license to it. And it's a very cool project because it has cool characters. It is fantastical. You can go anywhere with it. It's and it really is something good. I think will be amazing for Europe, because the locations, if we shoot it in Europe using the old castles and the old houses and the old towns and old cities, and it's just perfect, So for the last 10 years, I've been trying to find somebody to say, you know what, let's do the first season, because we've got enough stories to run for 6 seasons if need be, and it's already planned, right? But I just need to get that first investor for the first season and do the 6 or 7 episodes of it, and then roll into the second season. So that's what I've been working on. And also I've done...
That's David, let's stay there, because Wienerland, I saw it, and it is fantastic. It is really amazing. So please, you have to give us the links to it that people can... in the show notes, that they can watch at least the teaser. Okay. And also, if you're out there, if you're listening to us and you're a producer, I'm not kidding you. This is something you should look into. This has huge potential and would be really successful.
Yes,
so
I think
really so too. Contact, write to David and talk to him about it, because this is something that we should be making here in Europe.
Yes.
Fantastic actors. We have fantastic crews here, as we all know. So yeah, please, David, we will do that. Put that in the show notes. That give us the links, and we will put in there. And
I'll send you the links, and you can put it. It will be a fantastic project because it has so much room, and the potential is massive. Because with this, we have potential for a video game. You have potential for merchandise. Right, and you have potential for spin-offs, it's a really, it could be a huge, we could create a universe with it, you
Yeah.
know. And what we need is somebody to just, or a studio or an investor or a producer or somebody or an EP or somebody to say, you know what, I want to have a look at this and I want to try it. Let's give it a shot because the talent we have
We have it all
in
here.
abundance,
Mhm.
Yes.
both
Yes.
behind and in front of the camera.
Yeah.
I mean, like the talent is incredible. The guys we shot this with, we couldn't pay them, right? Because we
Mm.
didn't have money. It was just supposed to be a spec. It was just supposed to be a pilot,
Mm.
something to explain to people. Because when you say to somebody, it's a cross between fantasy and western, and then steampunk, everybody's like, "What the fuck? Well, what is that?" You know. But this, you
So
can
good.
see it.
So good.
And people really worked on this. They invested their time. And what I want to make sure is I want to make sure that those people that invested their time, if they're still around and still interested, we would love to have them back. But we
Mm-hmm.
want to have them back with the point that with paying them.
Mhm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
we
So
want to
important.
and compensating them for their talent and their gifts and their time. This is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. And then you have the Saba series. Am I
Yes,
saying?
I'm writing a series, a
Mm-hmm.
Saba. It's called a story in 7 chapters, and it is it's set in Africa, and this is something I'm working on, and you'll have more information soon.
Mhm.
Definitely, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's
yeah,
something that
you're gonna have more information soon.
not to
And
talk
then
too soon.
also I'm working with, as you probably know, we're still trying to get a picture called Trotsky in Vienna, which
Mm-hmm.
is a kind of like a Sherlock Holmes in Vienna. It's a feature
Mm.
film,
Mm.
Oh.
and we also there's another picture that we're working with called A League of the Rhino, which we're going to shoot in Africa.
Mm.
Also, Man in the Mirror. Man in the Mirror, I've got partial financing for it, and we want to shoot it in South Africa. It's a post-apartheid picture. I've got partial financing, and we have great actors in it who have signed agreements. People like John Carney. John Carney played um, the Black Panther's dad on Black Panther. He's, he's agreed to support us with his talent, and
Fantastic
also
actor.
there's a whole bunch of other actors. And this, we want to shoot it in South Africa. We have partial financing. I think we have a third of the financing. We want to find the other 2/3.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I have another picture called Skrilla in Manila. I'm going to shoot that in Manila, of course. It is more. It is like a think um, uh, Miami Vice, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that kind of. It has that kind of period feel to it. And then we have also another 2 pictures that we want to shoot in the States. And one of them we have some financing is in place. I can't talk about it right now.
Mhm.
And then I have another a really interesting, and I think this would be a fascinating. It's a series called Hopper and Co. And Hopper and Co. is a Western series,
Mm-hmm.
and but this Western series is driven predominantly by women, and there's women at this time created detective agency,
Mm.
and it's called Hopper and Co. And it takes place in the 1800s as a Western, and it's the titular characters in this the leading characters in this project are women,
Mm-hmm.
which is very powerful. And then I liked because when you look back into the West in the history of the West, you'll be amazed that the women were extremely successful. You know, you had
Mm.
successful business women, uh, and this this show would showcase that, and also
Thank you
look at the
for
picture,
that.
the story from a
Yes.
different perspective,
Thank you.
and think of things like Deadwood. It'd be like a Deadwood type, but with female characters leading the show, being the lead detectives and investigating cases,
Mm-hmm.
murders, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever shenanigans are taking place at the time. And that's Hopper and Co. And Hopper and Co. At the moment, I'm in the process of the team. We're in the process of trying to get a studio or an investor for the show,
Mm-hmm.
and I think this would be an amazing show. Um, yeah, and many others, but right now these are the ones we
You
should
Mhm.
you have a
focus
lot.
on.
When you say we, do you have a production company as such?
I have a production company called Wurawa Originals,
Mm-hmm.
but I also do co-productions with
Yeah.
Blur Productions
Mm-hmm.
uh, in um, in the in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And I have, oh, I think I'm frozen.
That's okay. We can
Mm.
hear you.
Okay,
That's
and then
okay.
you have and then also I'm working with Epic in the UK, Epic 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I do collaborations, and I love
Mm.
collaboration and co-productions. I love
Mm.
that.
Got it. Okay, that would be
Yeah.
beautiful to have that also in the show notes. Your
Mhm.
production
Yeah,
company.
yeah, yeah, for
A lot
sure.
of people.
I mean,
That would be
also, and
amazing.
here in Austria, I'm talking with a gentleman. He is an amazing writer. The two projects which he has in mind, one is called Station, and one is called um, uh, Eight Shots.
Mm.
And these are all very incredible projects. So hopefully we get some financing with that. Um, and so, but basically, I'm open to any offers and suggestions or um, discussions, collaborations. I'm open. You know,
Mm.
I try to stay open.
This is amazing. And also talking about the collaboration, because I know this is something very important to you, and we touched upon this topic before. You said that for you it is important to find the right people. And the way
Hmm.
how you define the right people is the people who are kind, who are supportive, and
Mm-hmm.
doesn't
Hmm.
have to be like big names or anything. It's just someone who you
Hmm.
have in your corner. And how does this philosophy came about? And how do you find the right people? Is it a gut feeling? Is it something that just transpired the energy wise? How do you feel it that that person is someone that you can trust, you can work with, you can collaborate, you can co-create together?
Um, Artists by nature we're quite intuitive.
Mm.
Um, I noticed, but most of us don't really listen to our intuition. We get stuck with the external bling bling. You understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But in reality, artists have access to their intuition and instinct, and you got to trust that. Not just that it's only artists that have that. I'm just saying it's fine tuned in
Mm-hmm.
artists. Everybody has it. Every human
Mm-hmm.
being and everything that lives on this planet has instinct and intuition, right? And but artists, where it's more refined because that's how what we deal with. And what you will see, you will know it. You just you. It's like you when you and Eva met the
Yeah.
first time.
Yes.
There was that language, or that conversation, unspoken or unsaid, unexplainable, but it's just there, that bond, that connection, right?
Yes.
100%.
And all you got to do is say, okay, how does it get any better? This, what else is possible? Yeah, what are the infinite possibilities of me working with this person, me dealing with this person, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And if you trust your instinct, it works. And like you said, it is very important that you find people that you can work with. They don't gotta be you know, everybody when you say you can work with, they're looking for somebody who can mother them or can say, oh,
Mm.
you're great, you're fantastic. No, somebody you can work with, somebody who tell you the truth. And you got to be mature
Yes.
enough to accept the truth. Yeah. But most of us are immature to
Mm.
accept the truth. It's got to be somebody you can say, if they say, man, that's bullshit. What you're doing is bullshit. You got to be mature enough not to take it personally and look at what they mean, and really investigate. So you got to reflect.
Mm.
So if you have one or two or three or 20 or 30 people that you can work with, stick with those. Some will fall away, and new ones will come in. But you will have a core group that you can rely on, a core group that you can approach, and they will tell you the truth. By truth doesn't mean to say the truth means they will tell you how they feel, what is real. When people say the truth, when I say the truth, some people expect it to be everything right, everything
Mm.
correct. No, it's just somebody who will tell you, they give you their opinion
Mm-hmm.
in the
Mm-hmm.
most
Mm-hmm.
natural and honest way they could. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can find a group that you can relate to, you can work with. It doesn't matter what you guys fight like cats and dogs, but as long as you're mature enough to come back and move on, go past it, you will find that this is something you can work with. If you've been in a long relationship, you know this. You know this. There are certain times you fight, but then everything gets worked out and things get better. If you can find a relationship, people that you can work with, and you can collaborate, and you can put your ideas together, and there's respect of each other's ideas, this should be something that'll be special as you move forward.
This is a really important distinction, and I wanted to highlight it to people who are listening. It's the people who you can work with. It's not necessarily the person who is gonna sugarcoat it for you or make it, all the troubles go away. It's exactly the person who can tell you the raw truth, because he or she knows that you can take it, and
that's it.
In that honesty, you can create something better, something that ultimately will make an impact. So, I think that's very important.
That's true. You got it in one. They can tell you their truth, and you take it. You got to be mature enough to take it. You got to be. As an artist, we got to be mature for critique. Like last year, for me, last year was both sweet and sour. It was great. I had work. I was shooting every time. But in between, I had auditions. I had last year so many auditions, but they didn't turn out the way I wanted them to turn out. You understand? But they did, in a way. I learned more about my craft, my audition craft, my acting craft. I started, and then I realized, okay, this is what I'm doing right. This is what I'm not doing. This is what I'm doing right. This is what I need to enhance, and this is what I need to bring back. This is what I need, this, and it was great school. Why? Because the rejection really is a great school. Then you can decide, do I really want to keep doing this, or do I not? Right? But now I'm at that point where I understand that there are certain things that you can create for yourself. And then there's certain things that you say that will be presented to you. And you got to be open enough to take them. And you got to be open enough to, if you're open enough to take them, you got to be open enough to accept the rejection. Yeah?
It's true.
And you accept the rejection.
Grow, right?
And you move on. Right.
It's growing.
I had somebody ask me the other day whether certain things, he said to me, he asked me if I want to formulate it in a way, because it was, okay. He asked me if I get angry or I take seriously when a critique is written about me. Do I take the critique seriously? And I said, yes, I take the critique, yes, and seriously. But what I do with it is the most important thing, right? Or what I decide that it does for me, that critique. That's the key, right? So I will take, critique, but it's what I do with it. Do I choose to have that? If it's a bad critique, do I choose that it's something that's going to bring me down for the next 6 months? Or do I choose, okay, that's good. Then it's something I need to work on. Appreciate that and move on. Or if it's a good critique, do I take this as something that's going to overinflate my ego? Right? Or do I say, okay, that's cool, but I also need to learn to check my ego, right? So that there is a balance. There's a certain equilibrium. Now, checking your ego doesn't mean to say that everybody's got to walk all over you. No. It just means that you look at something and you go, okay, I have done it. It's been great. It's amazing. Now I present it to the world, and the world chooses to do what they do with it. And that's it.
That is
If it's a
beautiful.
success, but the success is you finish it, you give it out there, you put it out there, right? Everything else you get is a bonus, right? Because finishing it is the hardest thing. Starting and finishing. Like I think Denzel Washington put it right. He says you have commitment and consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And without commitment, you can't start. And without consistency, you can't finish.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would love to ask you on that note, as we are wrapping up. I love this. Talking to you is just as I
Pure
can
gold.
always talk to you for hours and hours and hours. That's just what
I
it
just,
is. When we meet, it's like
man, I could talk with you for hours.
talk,
Oh
talk, and
man.
talk, and talk. But as the thing is, like, do you have an advice for emerging filmmakers and actors? Is there any advice?
One, nobody's waiting for you.
Yeah.
So do not go out there thinking the world is waiting to give you waiting. No. One, create your own work. Have a plan. Really have a plan. Decide, we have a plan, and also understand your power as an artist. Most of us, we've given our power away to people, whether it's an agent or a manager or stuff like that. But one thing you got to understand is have a plan. And when you have a plan, trust your plan and work towards that plan. My dad used to say, good luck is hard work and good planning, right? Have an idea, work hard towards it, plan for it, and work towards it, and hard. By hard working doesn't mean to say you got to pull your hair out. You know, be smart. Really be smart. Look at things, follow them through, and be open. Really be open to receive. Yeah, be very open. And that for me, excuse me, let me charge my, yeah. And you got to be open, and you got to be able to receive and to give. And one thing is, most young filmmakers just think, I want to be a star. You know, they're thinking in terms of star. No. You want to tell a story, and you want to represent your character to the best of your abilities, and you want to work with a group of people that have an idea, and you want to see that idea to the end. So one, humble yourself, always be respectful, get to work on time, learn your lines, yeah? And remember, you are creating a world, and in this world, you have to find a way to function within that world. So do be humble, learn you do your work, listen to your intuition, and listen. By listening just means to see, hear everything, the senses, the smell, everything. Learn, and always be interested. Yeah. Read as much as you can. Visit museums. Watch as many movies. Go to the theater. Go to a circus. Go to galleries. Travel. Be open. And share, right? Just share and really, really be in the moment. Yeah. And there is no such thing as easy or hard. It is all in our heads. You know, it's just a matter of how you execute what you put out there, and once you receive it. Because have you ever had this situation? People put an idea and say, I want to have a Mercedes, right? Somebody buys them a Mercedes, but it's the wrong fucking color, right? And they start saying, yeah, but it's the wrong color, right? In other words, you've made a request to the universe. The universe has presented you something, but you're going to find a fault, right? So let's say somebody wants success and they get the success. And then all of a sudden, everybody's hounding them. People want the thing. Now, next thing you know, people say, "My life, I'm depressed." You know, because it's how you deal with things. If you make a request, be specific, but do know that it's going to come with more than you ask for. You know,
Yeah.
it's going to come with more than you ask for. You're just going to be ready to deal with that. Roll with the punches. Yeah. But I'm speaking like this. I'm not, I am still in my journey. You understand? I am still in my journey. I am still learning, and I'm still trying to achieve that position where I get offered projects that mean something, projects that I can say, okay, this is something I can invest, or at the same time, get in the room with people with projects that interest me or are interested in working with me. So I'm still open. I'm still, even being at my position and at where my career is at the moment, I am still uh, a working actor, which means I still audition. I still look for castings. I still do workshops every year. Every other year I do myself I give myself a birthday present for workshops. Things like that. I still do. Because I like going back to basics. I still train my instrument. I still try to keep fresh and sharp, and I still try to be interested. I travel to other countries to go watch theater, and stuff like that. And I exchange ideas with other artists and stuff like that. So I am still open, but I want to open more towards Africa. I want to bridge that gap between the South, up South, and then keep that bridge going and look at stories that take place on the continent or with a Afrocentric uh, story or backstory or something like that. I'm more interested also looking into those projects as well. It doesn't mean to say I'm not interested in all the others. I'm just saying I am open, and my intuition and instinct is telling me, okay, this is something I need to the stories from the South are the stories I need to also explore as much as I explore all the other stories. Yeah.
That is powerful. Because you are speaking from the place of truth and you're living by your own words. That's why I think we
for
are
sure.
so mesmerized.
The thing about it is this. I don't believe in what I do. I truly believe, and I really like and enjoy what I do for many reasons, for a plethora of reasons. There is something magical about storytelling, something spiritual about a play, a movie, or the idea of making a movie. There's something magical about it. I could find words to explain it, but there's something magical about it. The magic and the clarification of it, there are people that go and watch this, right? And they also put their own magic on it, right? There's something magical about storytelling. There's something magical about acting. When you are acting and you're in a scene, with somebody, you stop thinking. Like I'm in a conversation with you. I'm not thinking, it's there, but the process is just so instant, right?
Yes.
When you're in a scene, you're playing with somebody, and when the process is moving, it's like you've been transported to a different time and place, right? And you're just there, and you're not watching yourself anymore, and you're just there, right?
Yes.
You ever had those moments? And when they go cut, and you step back and you go, and you both look at each other and you go, did you feel that? You don't even say it. It's
That
just the
is
look you give each
so
other. You go,
gorgeous when that happens.
you know what I mean? You don't even say
Yeah.
nothing. You just look at each other and you go,
Yeah.
yeah, And it's something magical that happens. And everybody around you sees it, and feel it.
Yeah.
So there is something magical about sharing our stories, about embodying a different character or hearing somebody else's story, or about reading somebody's story or listening to it or whatever. There is something magical about words or movement or sound, something magical about it. And humanity, we need it, right?
Yes, we do.
We need that sense of a community within storytelling. So for me, acting is very much a part of my life. It is, it is something that I find quite mysterious. It's always intriguing to me. I haven't figured it out completely. Let's put it that way. I don't have all the answers at all. All I have is just questions. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see a glimpse of an answer, but I trust the questions and I trust the process. And the process has been very kind to me, and it's still been kind to me. And I know I still got a lot to learn, and I still have a whole bunch of actors and directors and directresses that I haven't worked with that I know I will work with, and they're just out there in the ether, out there in the system. And at some point we will attract each other, and we will come together and collaborate and move on, and that story continues. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
No, I thank you, ladies. You ladies are amazing. And I think your podcast is a very good idea. And I appreciate this. I mean, this is the first podcast I've ever been on
We're so
in
honored.
Austria. In Austria. Yeah, this is one of the first intense interviews. I've never had such an in-depth interview. I've been here for 25 years. I've worked everywhere. I've done TV, but I've never had this kind of discussion where people actually ask my opinions about something, and I appreciate that. And I hope I didn't waffle on or,
oh my
speak
God,
too much.
No. I was just thinking how lucky we are and how lucky you guys, they're listening and watching us. Like, this is so precious, and learning from you is so precious. It's just,
and also sorry to interrupt you, Eva. The most important thing is we who are already somewhat established, we also need to look back behind us, which means we need to be working with young upcoming directors, whether they're in film schools or they're doing an independent. We need to support that base, because the younger generation coming up after us are just as important as our generation and the generation before us. So it is important that we protect and also help out the young filmmakers that are coming up by how I say offer your expertise. If you're an actor and there's a young filmmaker wants to do an independent film or a short film, and he wants to do a short film, whether to get into film school or he's still in film school, find a place or time, an hour or a few hours to do something to help them, young filmmaker, because your experience rubs off. If a young filmmaker can work with an experienced actor or cinematographer or whatever, it is very important for them. It gives them more confidence to move, to do things more, to do more, to be better, and to do better. And the best way we could do that is just by making sure we hold their hand and bring them up with us, than to say, I'm here. And now that I'm here, ain't nobody gonna come in. You understand? So you start elbowing everybody out of the way. No. It should be, we're here. Look around you and go, okay, how can I be of help? How can I be of assistance? Right? It doesn't mean to say charity. It means offer your professionalism to somebody else, and they can come up and they will do the same.
True.
We're
going to end this on this note. This is gorgeous. This was just the perfect ending. Thank you.
Whoa, okay. Well, that was an hour and a half already.
That was an hour and a half. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I didn't know I could talk so much.
Oh, yes.
Gorgeous. Really gorgeous.
It has been amazing. And I
I'm already
appreciate you,
looking
lady.
forward to editing this and like, looking back to all the things that you shared, because I had moments where like goosebumps were just like all over my
I was
body.
crying. Oh my God.
Oh,
I
come
was
on
crying at
now.
some point as well.
I was like, oh, my nose was running. I was like, oh my, like, oh, I was like, no, wait.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry now.
Oh,
Like,
No,
this
it's like this. The most amazing thing is being seen.
yeah.
It's important because being acknowledged. This is very healthy. You know, what happens is that when we ignore people, we kill them.
Yeah, I know.
And the worst thing is that being ignored.
Oh,
And so what we want to do, you don't want to ignore the young filmmakers. You want to acknowledge them. You want to give them a platform. You want to lift them up, see them.
yeah.
Yeah. Make the fact, and also we want to see each other.
See each other, not
This is
ignore each
very
other.
important.
Also, like the women out there, women that are actresses, they're older, see them. They are so precious. Like, have them on screen. There's stories to be told. Also there, diversity.
This is a very important point, because I can tell you right now,
Mm.
I understand my job now more than I did when I was younger.
Mm.
And it is the same and true of all and everything and everybody. With time and with practice, you get better at what you do. We need more mature actresses. We need it. This is a needed thing, because they now at that point, when you're getting over 45, 50, 60, then you are in the prime of your craft abilities, of your work. You really know what you're doing. And we need that continuation. We need to have sexy 65-year-old,
Oh, yes.
sassy, we need to have those characters still doing, we need them. It's needed, whether they're directors, writers, actors, it's needed. This idea that, an actress can only work until they're 35, it's archaic.
bullshit.
It's old. It's dead.
Yes.
It's bullshit. We don't need, it's gone already.
Mm-hmm.
We're past that already. Yeah. So we just need eye candy. Yes, we need eye candy, but you can have eye candy. Man, I know 65, 70-year-old, 50-year-old that are hot as fuck.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
Women.
Not just physically, mentally, emotionally.
Yeah.
Just, people that are just, just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
If that is our bag, but our bag is to tell a story. And if there's beauty thrown in there, yes, but in all corners. We need more. We have amazing actresses that at a certain age, their talent is cut short.
Yes.
And like I was saying before, what we do is a spiritual thing. And when we do not acknowledge the spiritual journey, something inside you dies.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see the person, how they change.
It's in the eyes. It's like, it's still a young person, but then
exactly. Because at
off.
the end of the day, you can look at 100-year-old man lying there, but if you look into their eyes, they're still young.
Yes.
Understand?
Yes.
We have put too much emphasis on wealth, on visual, than on the depth of a person. You understand? We put too much emphasis on things that do not really move out. Worshiping, idol worshiping, This guy's got so much money, so he can do and say, or she can do and say whatever the fuck she wants. And everybody says, oh, it's great because he got money, right? Or no, it's the essence of the person, the character of the person should be what we judge a person on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that is true.
Because you cannot take the money with you. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You can't take with money with you. You're gonna die just like everybody else. Your shit stinks like everybody else. You got the same problems like everybody else. There's nothing special about you, but your essence. That's what makes you special. You can take with you. like in the the Egyptians, which you were once you pass on, they got your essence is going to be um, weighed, yeah, and how much of a person, how much of a good person, a bad person, who were you? What did you do? What did you leave behind? How did you improve this world? Things like that. But now we are focusing things on the wrong things. Fame, instant fame. Oh my God, it's right there. How much money somebody has. That's the most important thing. Oh, oh, they got a nice shiny car. No, they're necessary, but you got to identify what is important to you. Yeah, you got to identify. And as for film, as for arts, there's always going to be art.
As it should be, because we need it. It's soul food.
Yeah. And we need more female actresses. It doesn't matter what age. More older, we need more. We need those stories told because there's so many stories. Yeah. So I definitely agree with you, ladies. We need more directors, female directors, cinematographers, writers, producers, and we need all different races also. We need that. It's very important. And we need to be more brave with our storytelling and our casting.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
David, this could be forever and ever. I think we need to get you back on the podcast then someday.
Oh, come on.
100%.
We're gonna do that. We're gonna continue
without
this
a doubt. Well, I will be it'll be an honor for me. But we're coming to Rome, right, Valeria? You know that.
Oh, you're coming to Rome?
Yeah, we're coming to Rome.
Yes.
We're coming to Rome.
Yes. We're gonna record live.
And we're gonna be chilling in Trastevere.
Yes.
Yay.
Oh yes. Please do. The weather is amazing now. It's like plus 17.
Hold on a minute. It just won't stop.